This week, Emma and I are diving into Psych Crunch, the podcast from the British Psychological Society's Research Digest. Dr. John Sutton and Dr. Andrea Oskist explore the psychology of the menu. We really love this episode, and we've picked out a few of our favourite snippets and psychological takeaways to share, discuss, and reflect on how these actually impact the work that we do. So we really hope that you enjoy, and please let us know which insights whet your appetite the most. This one absolutely fascinating. It's a study conducted by Professor Charles Spence, who's Oxford University. He did a study to find which kind of plate colour would make a dessert taste sweeter. So it was really interesting that they mentioned this, and they were speaking about how a white plate makes a strawberry mousse, I think the dessert was, sweeter in comparison to a black plate. I think it was 10% sweeter and 15% more flavourful in comparison to the other plate colours, which...
As we know in the work that we do, it's tiny little elements that can have all the difference. And it's looking at those very tiny elements and pulling them all apart and working out which part of that contributes to the perception that the consumer has.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not that simple to work out. Sometimes it's the colour of a plate, but it can be other things as well. So
yeah, I guess it leads back into thinking about how important brand photography is for showcasing your products, because just the tiniest element can have such a major impact.
Even what someone's wearing in the image, if they're sitting over a plate of food, can have an impact on how people perceive that food, or even the expression on their face as to whether it's genuine or not, or even how they're holding the food. There's so many elements. I could go on all day about it, and it's utterly fascinating, but it's great to kind of work that out and unpick all those different pieces.
Yeah. I definitely need it just to help me stop eating so much dessert. So
let's find the plate colour that literally halts any kind of food consumption. That'd be good.
I know. I think it's a black one is supposed to reduce the amount of food, or that you would eat. So I need to change up my my plates in the cupboard.
We'll just spray paint them all black.
Yeah. I think Charles Spence has done some other incredible research though in the food category. I was reading one about the sonic seasoning research that he did, where he had said that high-pitched sounds can make food seem sweeter as well, which is incredible. And I suppose it kind of arcs back to Heston Blumenthal with his incredible sensory experience when you go to his restaurants, where he touches on each element of your sight, your smell, sound. Everything has an impact.
I think all of those things are really underrated, because I think we're very good at looking at the visual and we're good at thinking about how food tastes, but we don't think about how it sounds when you interact with it, whether it's crispy or not, the smell you get from it, and also what it feels like if you actually have to pick it up. And obviously worked in pizza for a lot of my life. And it was that, how does the pizza feel? Does it feel firm? Does it feel all floppy and horrible?
Yeah.
Is it cheesy and makes your hands all dirty? Or same thing if you're going somewhere like a QSR, and how does the burger feel in your hand? What's the weight of it? We're not measuring a lot of these things, and they all have an impact on how people perceive your food. The secure attachment obviously want to share food with each other. They want to gather around it. They want to create those emotional bonds over the food and all of that kind of stuff. But the avoidant types would be utterly horrified if someone did that. And I think it's giving people options within your menu to kind of understand that there's people that do not want to do it, like Smithy.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't want to share his Indian takeaway with anybody.
No, I think we all know someone like that,
don't we? Someone. Yeah.
I know. I have to say, when I get the chocolate from the drawer at home and I have to share it with my other half, I'm never very happy.
Oh, I would never share anything like that, not unless it was a massive pack.
Yeah.
I could never possibly do it on my own. I've worked for lots of brands that sharing is like at the core of what they do. And, we've seen it recently. There's certain consumer groups that really want to share, and people use it as a way of saving money as well.
Yeah.
Meat attachment. It sounds like a really strange thing, but there is a thing about there is a meat attachment scale, apparently.
it just blows my mind when you think about it on a deeper psychological level. you, I just would never have thought that people had that kind of connection. But I suppose we are kind of really ritualistic in how we eat food. I mean, if you think about breakfast, for instance, I don't know about you, but I have the same breakfast, exactly the same every single morning. I just can't go away from it. So I suppose I can understand how meat could potentially fit into that.
Well, I live with one, so he couldn't think of a meal that didn't have meat as a constituent. So it doesn't become a meal unless it actually has meat. So I completely understand that. I think it's really interesting that they've brought that up as like an attachment kind of style in its own sense.
Yeah.
And they bring up the fact that it's quite difficult for consumers to switch brands, and they have this sort of emotional attachment to something rather than a rational attachment.
Mm.
And food is emotional. That we do know that from all the work we do, that it's an emotional attachment. We need to eat, obviously, we need to fill our bellies, but we want to do it in the nicest way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And again, there's so much cultural nuance that comes through the kinds of foods that, that we build those relationships with. And I suppose if you think about the kind of imitation meat brands and where they kind of fall down on perhaps trust or familiarity with people, I know there was a really big boom, but from what I've heard, the market is kind of declining slightly.
yeah, crunchy chips and creamy centers, that whole thing of dynamic contrast is really important in sensory for food.
Mm,
I like the fact that they brought that up, because I'm certainly the kind of person, I love crispiness and softness and coldness and warmth together. I
mm,
like to see those contrasts in food, and I enjoy it a lot more if it's got that. And if I
mm.
look at a plate of food and it all looks like the same consistency, the same color, it just doesn't interest me and it doesn't get my taste buds going. But I think, like it says, it's all about the complexity of our characters and
Mm.
kinds of things we're into, really.
At Truth Be Gold, we uncover what really drives people around the world. We're a global market research agency offering smart, tailored insights for any budget. Let's make your next project shine.